Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Waiting Room with Zyna. Today is our 15th episode. I mean, can you guys believe that? Today is our 15th episode, and we are live with a beautiful, wonderful, and amazing guest. She was here last week. Anyway, my name is Zyna Obasi. Like some of you know, I'm coming back to introduce my guest. Let me just tell you a little bit about why we're here. So like I said, this is another episode of the Waiting Room with Zyna. And Zyna's Waiting Room that's the book, Zyna's Waiting Room. That's the book I wrote in 2018. That's the book that gave rise to this program, okay? The Waiting Room with Zyna is an offshoot of Zyna's Waiting Room. Now, it was because of my experience in the waiting room, and by that waiting room, childlessness for 17 years. So that gave rise to the book, and the book gave rise to this program. And this program is giving rise to a lot of things because so many things have started happening already, even though we are still in the first season. So many things are taking shape. So today we have another episode. We've been talking about adoption. This will be our fourth and final episode on adoption. The first one was me. I talked about myself, my experience in the adoption, with adoption. And thank God we have a baby girl now. And then, of course, I had Mrs. Daberici, who talked about the introduction, the format, what you need to do. You know, she talked about, from the legal point of view, everything you need to do to get a baby adopted. So it's there on our YouTube channel, you can go get it. And then we have the same guest twice now, Blessing Duru, who talked last week about the misconceptions. And then today she's going to talk about the sweet and sour experiences in adoption. So I know she's pumped and she's ready to come on live. She's here already, so I'm just going to introduce her, and she will take the floor and speak to us from her work, her experiences as someone who works with an NGO, who has interacted with a lot of government agencies and so many, and the ministry, and so many experiences, you know, she has under her belt. So she's just going to advise us based on all of that. And then when she's done, we can take questions. So if you have your questions, please, the chat box is open, just keep typing. And for those of you who are watching on Facebook, because I'm live on YouTube and I'm live on Facebook. For those of you on Facebook, also do the same. Keep dropping those comments, please. Share, call your friends to come and join. And I believe that we're going to have a wonderful time today. Now I'm going to give the mic over to my beautiful sister and the guest for today, Mrs. Blessing Duru. Blessing, show your face. Let me remove my spotlight so you can come up. Just a minute, guys. Okay. All right, here she is.
Okay.
I cannot hear you. Wow, please check. I think you're still muted.
No?
Okay, yes, I can hear you now.
Perfect.
Hi.
So let me start by saying good evening. This is another episode, and an interesting one for that matter, because what we have to discuss now is actually one of the critical components of adoption process. And it's also one of the issues that many people shy away from the process when they hear stories of what other women has encountered in trying to assess adoption, and that puts them off. But I am here to help us diffuse some of those fears that we have built over years. So finally, today we'll be looking at the sweet and the sour part of the adoption process. Interestingly, Statistics all over the world has shown that 87% of families who actually adopted children affirm that their lives has been happier as a result of the adoption. So this is globally, this is like a fact. So it's not just a Nigerian thing, it's all over the world. So that families who actually adopted children or babies are a lot happier than when they don't have children disturbing them in the home. So you can see that adoption is really helpful and can create an interesting atmosphere in any family. Children are the gift from God, and motherhood is one experience every woman wants to have, regardless of how the baby comes. That is not, I think we've gone past that level. So we're looking at other issues. So having a baby actually creates an interesting environment for the woman and for the man. So if you've been waiting for years, suddenly you now find you have a baby at home. You can see that even as a woman, you begin to glow, because over years you've been a very sad person. You're not emotionally balanced. Psychologically, you're not even okay. And these days we all talk about mental health and depression. So you find that even when you go out to do your daily tasks or your daily work, when you come back home, what helps to quench the anger you're bringing back home is when a baby runs to you and says, "Oh, mommy, welcome. How was your day?" That automatically changes you and helps you to forget all the stress that you have been through. If you're a business person, if you're someone who works in the office and you're managing people, you know the stress in managing this generation in workplace. They can drive you crazy. Sometimes they can even drive you nuts. So you begin to see yourself as very radical because you're trying to defend yourself in helping people to do what they expect to do. So the sweet part of adoption is the fact that with all the dramas, with all the issues we face on a daily basis, children has a way of helping us relax. And that is the sweetest part of it, which nobody can explain to you unless you experience it yourself. So that is the sweetness. The second one for me is that you have children calling you mommy. Everybody, or every woman wants to be called mommy. So you have that opportunity for somebody to run to you, hug you, sometimes kiss you as many times as they can. That is the sweet part of it. Then the other one is that even your health situation will improve when you have children around you, regardless of your status, whether you're feeding them once a day or 2 times a day or 3 square meals, but they have a way of helping you change your mood, switch your mood from sadness to happiness. Even on the side of the man, it also helps them to do better and more focused, because they will know that, oh, I now have a responsibility, I need to save more. Even sometimes it changes the man's behavior. Children have a way of doing that. I don't know how they do it, but I just know that you find that sometimes a single man might not be as responsible as you want him to be. But the moment you have children at home, that begin to talk to him and start telling him that, you know what, there are certain characters you need to drop. So we can go on and on looking at the sweet part of adoption. You can't take it from, you can't rule it out because it's something that is special and is unique, and everybody relates to it differently. But the bottom line is that no matter how you see it, no matter how it changes you, it helps you as a woman to be able to pour out your love to someone so dear to you, and you watch them grow in your eyes. From being a toddler, they get to young teenage age, and they get into adulthood, and then you let them go, and then you also see them through school, eventually they get married. From our own parts of where we come from, the Igbo parts, you go for Mugo. And that's the sweetest part for us as women, because every woman looks forward to going to a Mugo to go and date her grandchild. So these are the facts, the reality, and the sweetness in terms of adoption if you've been waiting for too long. So you just need to make up your mind and go for it. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing. The world is changing, things are changing, science is helping us live better. So adoption is one mechanism that has been put in place that can help transform you from a sad person to a very happy person, from an unfulfilled woman to a very fulfilled person, to a woman without focus to a woman with focus, to a woman without plan. Because when you don't have a baby, trust me, you won't plan. There is nothing you will plan. You just be spending your money. But once you have a baby, things change. You begin to weigh your options and your choices. Should I go for this ashwebi, or should I just wear what I have before and save the money for the children, or go buy food items or groceries for them? So these are the sweetness in terms of adopting a child. So things have changed and people are not waiting for too long anymore, because you need to, when you're informed, you make informed choices and then you run with things. Now, the other parts I really want to spend lots of time on is the bitter part of adoption. One factor that makes it sour is the fact that adoption is more like a framework which state government has put in place to help sanitize the system, which is cleaning up and making it a lot healthier for people who want to go through it. Now, it becomes sour when you don't follow government rules. I know that Nigerians were used to shortcuts, were used to doing things the illegal way. We're used to a lot of cut and paste documents to get what we want. However, this act has its consequences. Statistics has shown that out of every 10 illegal adoptions, you have 8 that comes back hurting us as parents. What do I mean by this? The adoption process is very complicated because you are not in the ministry where the documentation, where the upkeep, and how the baby is being gotten, or how the baby arrives to the home. You have no clue how that happens. Your own is that you want to adopt, which is fine. And if you don't follow the legal process, you might end up having an issue. So 8 out of every 10 women or couple or parents who adopt and then they now have a legal issue on it is because they did not carry it the way it's supposed to be. It was done illegal. I want also to drop that there's something we call baby buying and baby selling. Some call it baby harvesting. So because the adoption process entails, provides an opportunity for people to exploit others, there's so much money in the process. Money passes hands and they are not documented. Now, there are a lot of people who have seen that this is one way they can cash out, right? So we have people, illegal human being, let me just use that word, who goes into the villages, the interior local communities, and they harvest baby. And immediately they do that, they begin to look for buyer. And sometimes they give it at a very ridiculous price. And people who are desperate without knowledge and that are not informed form victim to this kind of purchase. So we have seen cases where teenage pregnancies occur, and immediately a buyer is put on the spot, and the buyer buys the baby and begin to nurse the baby at home. So because the girl, the mother of the child, is an underage child, because the person is, once you're not 18, you're still a child under our constitution. Eventually, if she grows up tomorrow and recall what has happened in her past and decide that, you know what, I want to go and look for my child and I want to get my child back. So we've seen that happen to so many couples. So what they do, what these young girls do is that they get a lawyer who now begin to do the background check and investigate on the case. And once they get to you that you actually bought the baby, maybe it could be 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, there are some documents that the lawyer will begin to ask you. One is your fostering order. And this fostering order can only be gotten from the ministry, who is responsible for adoption process. And most backyard adoption, they don't issue fostering paper. So, and that fostering paper, wherever you are, even if it's Lagos State, even if it is where we are, which is Imo State, has a registration number in the ministry and also at the high court, the magistrate court, where you physically go to represent yourself to the court, to the judge, letting them know that, oh, you're interested in adopting this child. They will ask you some questions. So it's a process that they document and they file. And when you get yourself involved in baby buying and baby selling, you don't do these processes. You don't carry, you just pay money. And sometimes you pay cash. They won't even allow you to do transfer, so that you don't come back tomorrow holding them accountable. So they collect their money cash and they go. And they give you the baby and you go. But it could lead to a sour experience should the mother of the child decide that I want my baby back. There is nothing you can do and you can't defend it, because an investigation will be carried, investigation process will start immediately. And finally, a DNA test will be conducted. And once it doesn't match, the government takes back the baby. So imagine you from zero, from unhappy woman to a happy woman. And all of a sudden, somebody knocks on your door and say, ah, that's my baby. I want to collect my baby back. Imagine the trauma. A lot of women don't come out of it alive. So it can kill. So it's advisable to discourage baby buying and baby selling. I am aware that sometimes the process can be tiring, which is also a sour experience for a lot of people. When they go to apply and they can wait for ages and nobody will call them, and in regards to the application which they have done. So that's why I said in the second episode that if you have made up your mind you want to adopt, find a motherless baby home and begin to build a relationship with them. So you can start by visiting them. You can start by supporting them. Some people go there to celebrate their birthdays. Some people go there to do one thing or the, so you just have to register your presence there. It's one of the easiest way to do it. So once you build partnership with them, they know you, you know them. You can then begin to tailor your purpose of coming to the home and supporting the home. So because already you have watered the ground, it's a lot easier for them to listen to you. And that will also help you not to fall victim of baby buying and baby selling, right? So the long, prolonged process is also a sour experience. But what I have just given you is one of the quickest way to make it shorter and faster, by building your relationship with the home or building your relationship with the ministry. When you have food items you can take to them, you know, those little things people they need that you can afford, just start doing it. Then another sour experience is people are scammed. A lot of people, they eat your money and there's nothing you can do. They scam you, and they scam people a lot, sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8 hundreds of thousands, even a million. They will ask you, oh, bring the money, we have a baby for you. Go and buy all the baby things. You go to the market excited, you shop, buy all the best things. You think, oh, my baby needs all this. Only for you to get to the home, they will not be telling you stories. How the girl changed her mind, how the thing did not work. Return the money now. They will return the money. And the baby things you have bought, you're stranded, you don't know what to do with it. And you go home depressed, and sometimes you just give those things out so that it doesn't remind you of what you have. So I've seen women who are waiting and they have been scammed for like 3, 4, 5 times, right? And that for me is not healthy. In fact, it destroys the mental health of the woman, and the woman just gives hope. And so you find out that the woman will begin to lose hope. And then she begins to shrink, she begins to change. She won't look happy as she used to. And sometimes it leads to death, because when you're having challenge with your health situation, when it becomes too complex, even medication will not address it. And that can lead to the death of the woman. So we know that there are scammers, and some of these scammers are also in the ministry. They work in the government agencies. So you have to be very, very careful who you discuss the process with. That's why I said, for me, just go ahead and begin to fertilize your ground with an orphanage home. Once you become relevant, then they will help you through the process. And the process will be legit. It will not be backyard one. They won't do that to you. So people that they encourage to do backyard business are those who come sharp. I want it now, and I want to go. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. So I encourage couple, find an orphanage home and begin to go there. So if you're even a pastor, you can even take your gospel to them. Christmas Day, you should just make some coolers of food where your hand can accommodate, and you go there, you give to them. So those little things helps them. So they begin to recognize you. You have used clothes you don't use. Don't burn them. Don't send them to the village. Pack them very well, neatly packed, and take them to orphanage homes. Those things matters a lot. So it helps you to run away from scammer who want to scam you of your money. Nigeria is very hard though, and these scammers are everywhere. So they will tell you, within one week. Some even tell you that, oh, we have a young girl, she's 14, she's pregnant, she's in the home. If you want the baby, you have to be bringing her feeding allowance. That means that is serious. You're building somebody's empire. So every month they knock on your door, it's time for monthly allowance. And remember, you're not the only one dropping. They would have said these things to 4 or 5 women looking for one baby. So they are collecting money from 5 people, even if it's 30,000. Every month, the person will cash out with 150 without doing anything, just letting you know that there's a teenage girl somewhere. So once the baby is born, we'll give it to you. And sometimes, annoyingly, the 5 women they've been collecting money from will end up not being the one that will be the buyer. They might end up selling it to somebody else, whereas they've collected 30,000 from you for 9 months. So calculate that. That's a lot of money. So the other one, which I have also talked about, is the long waiting period. Very, very frustrating. So I've seen people who would register in 2020 and 2021, they have not called them to begin the conversation. 2022, they won't call. So this is the reality. This is how bad our systems and our processes are. Nigeria is just a scattered place. Things doesn't go the way it should, right? So I know in an advanced country, once you apply, they communicate by email. They give you a call, they invite you, they do the first oral interview, and then they begin to watch you over a period of 6 months. But in the policy of adoption process, that is how it is written. That's the procedure in the manual or the policy. But nobody follows it. We don't follow rules and regulations. So the long awaiting period is also a sour experience for so many people. So you waited for 3 years, nobody has called you. All of a sudden, you just heard that, oh, you can get this thing from the back. Most people will just take that opportunity and run with it. But remember, 8 out of every 10 women who take that process usually get beaten at the end of it. Now, you also, another sour experience is when your husband does not support it. That is the worst that can even happen to a woman. When he's not on the same page with you, he feels that, what is this woman talking about? It's not my blood. Why would I be investing my time and energy on a baby that did not come from me? That is also a sour experience for many women. So some women will eventually go and do it on their own. The marriage usually crash. The man will eventually ask the woman to leave his house and the baby, right? And that is very unhealthy to women. So if you intend to embark on this, you and your husband must be in agreement. And the 2 of you must be, together on the same page. And when you're going to the orphanage home, you have to go with him because you need all that support. The support you need mostly is from the husband and not the extended families. If he agrees with you, it makes it very easy, and it means he's willing to allow the child bear his name. He's willing to allow the child inherit whatever he has labored for over years. And he can genuinely love the child and treat the child like his own because he went through the process with you. So if you don't have the support of your partner, it's also a sour experience for many women. So it means that you're on your own. Whatever you're doing, his hands are not there. And if you go ahead with the process, where are you going to keep the baby? Eventually when you get the baby. So and because you're married, it will be difficult for you to apply as a single mom. And single mom here in Nigeria, adopting a baby as a single mom is very difficult. We've not gotten to that level where we recognize that somebody might just decide as a woman, I don't want to be married, but I want to have a child, right? So we've not gotten to that level at all where that can fly. So even in the adoption process, a man in Nigeria, a man cannot adopt a baby girl alone. So if the man is the principal applicant, him as a man cannot adopt a baby girl in a Nigerian context. But in abroad, they don't look at gender. They look at your capacity. They look at your strengths. They look at your character and values and morals. So these are the factors they look at. So you find that in the Western world, a man might just decide to, you know what, I don't want to get married, but I think I need a baby in the house. So he's allowed to adopt any gender, whether a boy or a girl. But here, it's so difficult for, if the principal applicant is the man, they will not listen to you. They will ask you to go and bring your wife. You know, so there are so many things that hinders, that actually puts women behind. For instance, if you're pregnant and you go to the general hospitals, there are certain things you as a pregnant woman cannot do. They'll ask you to go and bring your husband for consent. It's so terrible what women go through. Even when you have a baby and you want to get an international passport for the child, the immigration people will ask you to go and get a consent note from the father. Whereas you're the mother of the child, but that for them is not relevant. That is how our system is. So that's why the agreement of the man and the woman is very key, so that it doesn't bring the sour experience. So if you're doing it alone, you might not have the support from him. And that might even make the marriage to crash. So these are some of the sour experience. But for me, the most one that hurts a lot is when you're engaged in baby buying and baby selling, or you're in part of these crypto pregnancies, these fake pregnancies, where the orphanage home would begin to brainwash you. And not orphanage homes, they are just maternity homes where people go to, and they begin to brainwash you and begin to give you hormonal injections. The breast will begin to enlarge, your tummy will begin to grow. They give you this false idea that you're pregnant, that you shouldn't even go to do scan. If you do scan, you won't see anything inside. And because you're desperate as a woman, waiting for too long, whatever they tell you, you will do. So we've seen enlightened people fall victim to crypto pregnancy as well. So you might carry the pregnancy. We've seen people carry pregnancy for 1 year, a year, and when you ask them, they say, the maternity home said the baby is not set well. All they are doing is that they are waiting for, they are harvesting. Once they find a product means a young girl with pregnancy. So they eventually plan everything, and they will instruct you that you would have the baby in their maternity home, nowhere else. So you find yourself, they might just call you suddenly and say, please come, you're due. You're not the one that is due, it's the young girl that is due somewhere. So they bring, Nigerians are terrible people, though. So they put the girl in one room and they put you in another room. They inject you, you sleep off.
Oh my God.
Baby, the girl puts to bed. They bring the baby to you and give you one cut. They do a lot of terrible things. And you bleed. They will then begin to treat you as a woman who has given birth to a child. A lot of women has fallen into things like this because they are not informed. They are not looking at options and making informed choices. There are so many ways people can address the waiting issue. If only you be open-minded and just be open-minded and say, you know what, this life is just one life that I have. So whatever I need to do to make myself happy, I have to do it. Waiting for too long doesn't make women, doesn't give you the happiness that you deserve. So that is why for me, the adoption for me is one option that people should consider if you do it right. So I think This is it for me. And thank you for listening.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so, so much. Wow. I always say it, when you are talking, you make it so simple and straightforward. So most times people don't get to ask questions. Thank you for this session again and for your time. I know how busy you are for squeezing us in to this program, into your own program. From what you just said, I network problem. The network is terrible everywhere. Even there, you also confirmed it. Let me see. I hope my my own does not spoil, because yeah, it's showing me that my bandwidth is weak. Hope it doesn't go off any minute from now. All right, so we learned about the beta experiences. First of all, I'm going to corroborate your story, the sweet experiences, because I am currently living in it. Yes, I'm currently living in. Have we lost our guest? I hope she's still here. So I am currently living in it. For those of you who are joining, who probably did not understand, let me share from my point of view as someone who waited and finally adopted. Since my baby came into my life, a lot has changed, a lot. In fact, sometimes when I kneel down to pray, I find myself looking for questions, looking for prayer points, honestly, because it's like for 17 years, this was my prayer point, and then all of a sudden it gets answered, and it just looks like one doesn't really have anything much to pray about again. So the sweet experience is, of the chat. Is it the calling you mommy or telling you I love you? The girl can say I love you 50 times a day, kissing, hugging, and all of that. So those are the things that we look forward to. I look forward to seeing her when I go to pick her in the morning, pick her in the afternoon after school. The way she rushes and comes to greet me, some of the teachers will be like, did you travel? Did she leave you at home? Is this just how many hours ago? I'm like, yes, that's how we are. So that bond and all that, it's very necessary. So if you are considering adopting and wondering why you should, that should be one of the reasons. And don't bother about whether you love the child. You will, because what's not to love? Something that you have waited for all your life. So what's not to love? You will love the child, definitely. So please go ahead. And for the beta experiences, it's terrible. Like she said, 8 out of 10 always ends up in tears. So please, I waited for how many years to even adopt? So we first applied in 2009. And within the period that we applied and going through the adoption processes, there were so many pop-ups. By that, I mean the fake people. In fact, the other time I talked about my auntie's sister, younger sister, who I thought wanted to help us because she helped my cousin when she adopted. And because we're not living in my state at the, in Imo State, we were living in River State at the time. She was posing as someone who was helping us to source for the place, the orphanage home and all of that. She was going to them and following up. But this one was just collecting our money and juking us all the time. We didn't know, asking us to buy stuff. We're sending things, sending money. She was just chopping our money and all of that, So, well, my sister, are you talking? I can't hear you. Okay, I thought you were saying something. So this woman just kept collecting money from us, and all of that. So when we found out that what she was actually doing was trying to look for a place to buy and not to do the proper adoption, we discontinued. I told her we're not interested. So imagine we registered and applied for adoption January 2009. Fast forward to 2020, that's when we got our baby. How many years we waited? From 2009 to 2020, that's 11 years waiting to adopt. Isn't it 11? 2009, 10, 11, 12, I don't know, just do the maths. We waited for that long to get it right. But now we are happy, just like she's saying, we are so happy that we got it and we got it right at the end of the day. So I'm not saying you must wait for that long, okay? So you may not have to wait for that long, because at some point we took off going to look for other means. We tried IVF, we tried surrogacy and all of that. And then I needed to build my business. But and my husband and I were not interested in anything short of the right process. So if you have to do it the right way, so that your joy will be everlasting. You don't want the one that you do today and then tomorrow you have to cry, or you will start hiding your child and all of that. And another thing I want to advise against this fake cryptic pregnancy thing, and also, wearing prosthetics. Some people go and wear prosthetics. I mean, say it with pride. You are adopted. God will bless you. There's a special blessing for people who adopted and went about it the right way and are proud of it. Join us and you will experience it. I am experiencing it. So don't go do something nice and cover it because of what will people say. Imagine wearing a very beautiful lace and then you take a rag and cover yourself because you don't want people to admire your clothes or say that you spend so much money. What nonsense. If you're going to adopt, adopt. And if you're going through adoption, do it the right way so that you'll be proud to say, I adopted. And everybody who has problem with that, they can run under the bus. That's not your problem. You cannot live your life. I keep saying you cannot live your life based on what people will say, because even if you don't do what they want you to do and do something else, they will say. If you do what they want you to do, they will still say. There's nothing you do in life that will not make people say. And why do you care so much about what people will say if you're doing what is right? So go ahead and adopt your child and do it the right way, and you will get the blessing for it. So since we don't have any questions for our guests, I'm not going to keep her any longer, or you, because we've come to the end of the program. We actually took a little bit longer than usual, but was all worth it. So today is the 15th episode. Next week, I'll be coming back with the recap of all the topics we have been discussing on this first season of the Waiting Room with Zyna. We're winding down the first season. When we finish with that, we're coming back with recaps weekly. But for now, just get ready. Next week, I'm going to go through all the topics and just a little bit of everything, and then get to, get everybody to have a feeling of what the program was all about. This whole season one has been amazing, and it couldn't have been amazing without you guys who have stuck with me and who are always watching, commenting, sharing. Do not forget, please share, comment, hit that notification button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Zyna TV, and hit the notification button so that you can be part of what is happening all the time. And remember, I always say, children are a gift from God. Once you get them, treat them as that. And do not ever, ever worry yourself about what people will say. Thank you, guys. Good night. I love you. And thank you again to our guest, Blessing Duru, who has been with us for 2 weeks now. I love you, sis. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Love you. So for everyone who joined us on Facebook and on Zoom, don't worry. This link is coming up on YouTube later tonight or tomorrow morning. So you can share the links and tell everyone to go and catch up. Thank you so much. And thank God for a good network after all, okay? I didn't expect it. All right, guys. Good night. Love you. Bye.